Happy Easter. It's 2014, and here we go. Easter Sunday. Now, for a long time, I've had a few things to say. Haven't been in shape to say them. But I've been, over the last 2 or 3 years, I've been involved with a lot of a lot of research on different science groups concerning history, archaeology, uh, about the earth, the history of people, cultures, governments, religious movements, and all that stuff. And about UFOs, extraterrestrials, and everything the military's involved with that most people don't really know how real it is. Last night I watched a video, YouTube. All the stuff is on YouTube. I watched the video about the what do you call it? The agnostics Bible, and he talked a lot about different books that were not left out of the Holy Bible. They had some pretty strong things to say that would horrify a lot of Christians. A lot of Christians. And when you really get involved with science, there's so many different science groups, hundreds, thousands of science groups have different research they've done for, I don't know, forever, I guess, on everything. And a lot of what it's coming down to is indoctrination groups, real solid indoctrination organizations. As so many people are involved. You got David Icke, you got Robert Maxwell, you got Stephen Greer, you got ThriveCon, you got the Zeitgeist Movement, you got the Venus Project, and there's a lot of information involved. And boy, trying to sort out what's true and what's not true is no piece of pie. And you got all these groups of scientists who wanna thumb their nose in anything scriptural, thumb their nose into the Bible and Christians. Oh, they take a few rounds out of the Muslims and all religious movements, religious cults. But at the same time, a lot of these science groups themselves they happen to be pretty much religious movements themselves. Well, that's kind of like the way I see it. This agnostic video I watched last night, There's a lot of things I wouldn't, you know, raise an eyebrow about, except things like they claim that Jesus murdered a little kid when he was younger, and but because he was so special that it was all blown off. And they get into the thing about Mary, Jesus' mother. I really think they got a lot of this information stirred up that they're considering how Jesus became pregnant with Jesus, and still she was a virgin mother of Jesus. They failed to talk about one of John the Baptist, who was Jesus' cousin, and that the Mary they were actually talking about was really about the baby being born who was John the Baptist. But no, they get it all muddled up, or maybe deliberately muddled up, and they come out with all this thing about that Jesus, the Virgin, and the virgin birth, and they mix a lot of their stuff with what they say goes along with the Quran, and but anyway, there's so many doctrines and so many people are researching all this stuff and making their opinions and conclusions of what this is and what that is and what this means and what that means, and they have all kinds of explanations for how the world was created, whether it was created by God or an evil God or Satan God. I mean, it really gets complicated. But, you know, I'm not really religious, and the only way I do identify myself as a Christian because I worked with an organization for 20 years, and well, we were pretty much written off as a religious cult, and we did have different doctrines about different things. And we specialized in Bible prophecy in the early years. We did, especially a few of us. We got a lot of the stuff from Daniel and Revelations memorized. But as the years went by and there were major fallouts took place in the organization, I was one of the guys. Pretty much, there are thousands of us. Were pretty much out the door, and it didn't save the people who created all the problems. But so when I did have to go on my own and start my life over, what might I say? I threw everything out the door. I just flushed all the doctrines, all the stuff I I ever went through and down the drain and start my life over. And it took years to sort of like readjust with mainstream society again. And but in the last few years, I've been after what happened with the housing bubble in 2008, and there was a guy dragged me into a website called Restore the Republic, and I was on there for a couple of years, but they're up and running. But I kind of got a lot of information there. I studied a lot about the Constitution, the U.S. Constitution, the Founding Fathers, and got to know a lot about American history. When I couldn't keep connected to the server, I went off in other directions. There were other websites, forums I was involved with, studied a lot, learned a lot. And then in 2011 came the Fukushima earthquake in Japan. And now, 4 years later, 3 years later, radiation, radioactive, is affecting all of us around the world. But the government's starting really trying to let anybody know about it. There is a guy in Missouri. He goes by the name Dutch Sims. And that guy has more information, more support of the real credible scientists around the world concerning HAARP. That's a big military antenna system up in Alaska, and other antenna systems, solar antennas, groups of antennas, and different strategical place locations around the world to help engineer the weather modification. And the military has been working on this since World War II. Dutch Sims has got a lot of documentation. He's gotten now the whole history of a lot of stuff, and it's really worth reading. Watch the videos, learn all about the earthquakes, tsunamis, and some of it might be natural forces, but some of it is being triggered by the military. That's right, a war machine. They were working hard for years to use the weather for a weapon against countries they don't please Uncle Sam. So we need to take this stuff seriously. Now, a lot of the Bible prophecy stuff, I could safely say that I do believe that if Jesus is going to return to the earth as described in the Bible, and if he is going to restore Israel, it is not going to be the way the bankers have done it since the 1900s. This has not been an act of God. It's not been the fulfillment of Bible prophecy, as far as I can see. If it was, God would not need the military to know the Bible so well so they could get their technology together so they could pull it all off. And meanwhile, these Israelis, some of the most barbarian, uncivilized people on the earth, the way they treat Palestinians. There would be no problem of everybody coexisting in peace without nuclear weapons, without weather weapons, and all that stuff. Now, how would the weather weapons work? It's through radio waves, high and low frequencies. But that's all on Dutchsin's channel on YouTube. Some of these doctrines about Jesus, they didn't get it all right. They accounted for Jesus when he was crucified. They kind of had it that he went to hell and this and that and the other. That was only one place Jesus went. During the 3 days he was dead. Hell was only one place. It says that he preached to the spirits in prison. So it goes to show that all these clowns that have been inflicting pain and suffering on the world deliberately through the war machine and through politics, they themselves have a nice place inside the earth, and there is a prison down there. And also, there is paradise that's inside the earth. When that guy beside Jesus kind of told the guy on the other side of him a few things, Jesus told him, "Today thou shalt be with me in paradise." So inside the earth there's different places that nobody has ever known about, and nobody's really worked too hard to think about it and do research on it. But inside the earth there was paradise, spirits in prison, and inside the earth, according to the book of Revelation, Satan, at the end of the 1,000-year, no, at the beginning of the 1,000-year reign of Christ, Satan gets cast into the bottomless pit. So it seems like the very inside of the earth might be a hollow inside where it just keeps. There's no still. There's no way to stop moving. The bottomless pit. So if they get thrown down there, it'll wind up going one way and then they going the other way non-stop. And then the Bible talks about the lake of fire. Well, it's pretty obvious that inside the earth, there's lots of fire inside. It all bubbles up with all the volcanoes, volcanic activity. I'm kind of, excuse me for not getting my act together better than being able to make things flow faster and all my ideas. But it's just ad lib. But I've been a real basket case. And I'm not going to live forever. That's alright. You can't shoot my mouth off as long as I'm living. But all these science groups really kind of they could really knock people for a loop if they're a Christian. That learn some of the stuff that they come out with. These science groups. The first time I saw the Zeitgeist movie, I had to watch the movie 3 times over. And then I was able to start addressing some of the points and form opinions about some of the information. Now in that first Zeitgeist movie, it talked about how there were about 4 different cultures through history where they all had a Messiah, birth, execution, and resurrection, and a few other things they go on about. But after watching that movie and thinking it over, I started seeing that it wasn't 4 separate events. It wasn't 4 separate messiahs. It wasn't 4 different things of each culture. It was they all had the experience of knowing what was coming in the future for all of them. The same single event. It wasn't 4 separate messiahs, 4 separate life executions or resurrections. It was that they were all seeing the same future event, and that future event was fulfilled when Jesus Christ was born and grew up and was executed and rose from the dead. These people who, these scientists and religious movements who are quick to deny that there is a God or that Jesus ever was real. They're quick to debunk all that. However, it's all because there's no evidence and no proof. Did he ever live? Did he ever rose from the dead? Did he ever went to heaven? Okay, fine. I don't have to understand it all. You know what I mean? I don't mind believing it by faith. That's what faith is all about. Believing in things that where there's not any proof or evidence of it. If you don't believe anything by faith, then you don't have faith in anything. But I don't just believe that Jesus was born and lived his life and then was executed and rose from the dead just for the sake of having faith in something. I believe it because it's like an experience. When you get to the point in your life when you pray, you seek, you seek God to see if He's for real, and something happens. See, it happened to me when I was 12 years old. I mean, I'm anything but the Christian that people would like to associate as being a Christian image, a Christian role model. There are millions of those people. And we are not BC, we are AD. This is plus 2000 AD. This is 2014, and the years keep rolling by. So I'm just me. And I'm not really any different than I was when I was in high school. I basically think the way I do, and that's gonna I've always believed in God since I was 12 years old. I've believed in Jesus when I was 12 years old because of an experience that happened. What happened with me, I mean, everybody has a different experience. These guys, no, there was one day when I came home from school in October 1963, there's an older man came to see my parents. He was asking them if he could take me to the Calvary Chapel. It was a Pentecostal church, to see an evangelist. He had the gift of healing. My parents said, sure. So after supper, this guy, what was that, about two nights later, he came around and picked me up. And I was 12 years old. So we went into church, and first time I went into a church like that, I mean, it was a heavy thing going on in that place. And after this evangelist did his sermon, he starts praying over people, and then eventually people pushing me up to get healed. I mean, it was such a heavy spirit in that place that I literally expected my braces to fall off my legs. I really figured it was going to happen. And when it didn't happen, I thought, no big deal. But I really felt different in my mind, in my soul, in my heart. Oh, we were going outside the church when it was all over, and I was able to walk. I was walking back to the house with him. His name is Mr. Solway. A really nice guy. And he said, "Hey, Mr. Solway, don't worry about it. I didn't get healed. At least my soul got healed." And I never felt the same again the rest of my life. I mean, I know I get really mean. I really get bent out of shape a lot of times. Somebody really ticks me off. But everybody in the world, well, this is what I believe, that we were all created like God the Creator. And although scientists are pretty much close to the point of being able to create a human body, they cannot create a soul. Now, when they created Dolly the sheep, and they cloned the sheep, but the cloned sheep, the cloned copy, did not have a soul. And this is one thing that scientists, some evil scientists, will never want people to know about. I do expect that they are going to get to the point where they can create a human being body. But they will not be able to create the soul for that body. However, such a body could be inhabited by the spirit. And that's where all the transcendental meditation stuff is possible. So I would not want to see science get to that point, because as it is right now, they do have the robots, and they're able to fit robots with all the human skin appearance, so it looks pretty genuine. And programming wise, they are pretty able to talk and even joke around. No muss, no fuss. They did it on, I think it was NBC, I saw it a year or two ago, or 3 years ago. You know, it's pretty cool. But it is not a human being. It does not have a soul. And another thing I want to mention about these science groups, they were so invested in trying to escape the death process. They want to be able to transhumanism. They want to replace all their body organs and body parts with mechanics and whatever they need to replace everything. And preserve their brain. In fact, they can now upload their brain into a computer, and they want to be able to do that so they can live forever. Now, sounds pretty selfish, but they want to be able to do stuff like this, and they're getting pretty close to where they can do it. And they want to be able to go to different planets and different constellations and interact with other civilizations like the Earth, the civilization that we have on this Earth. However, the way, with all the information, a lot of it being suppressed from the mainstream population, with what they are experiencing with long-term experiences in other planets like Mars and Venus, Jupiter, or whatever. That takes a lot of time, but apparently they also have the ability to travel much higher than the speed of light through just the speed of thought to be at destination 2, A to B, as fast as they think it. Now, all that works, I don't know. But I'm not good at math. I'm not good at chemistry and all that stuff. But I know that scientists are really going all out to assume that these other existences outside our solar system are totally disconnected from us, whereas the Bible puts in information for us, this earth and this heaven, and that's enough. That's as far as I really think it's even worth going to think about or research it or anything else. Say we all have to die, and a lot of the people who have been involved in all this stuff were already dead. Now, what if all these people over the last 100 years who have been involved in all this and they're already dead, if when they died, suddenly they woke up and all suddenly realized, like all their life's work was just a waste of time. So, and I spent 20 years of my life. I learned a lot. I went through a lot, and a lot of other people did too, but it's kind of like I wouldn't want to spend the rest of my life concentrating on Bible prophecy like a lot of my old co-workers still did, and like all these other organizations constantly are obsessed with. all these prophecies and Nostradamus' prophecies. What happened between 2011 and 2013 was really good. People are spewing all over themselves, trying to make all these heroic, prophetic announcements so they could turn around and say on December 22nd, 2012, see, I told you so. See, what a great prophet I am. And all this big Mayan calendar stuff and Nostradamus this, Nostradamus that, and all these other ancient Egyptians this and Egyptians that. You know, it's kind of like everything's going to happen in December 21st in 2012. And the next day, nothing happened. There's all these claims that, oh, the world's going to flip upside down. Woo! And then it's going to be, everything's going to be revolving a different way from then on. And the next day, December 22nd, December 23rd, December 24th, I looked out the window, sure enough, the sun kept coming up, same place, same side of the planet. And I thought, whoopie doo. And the funny thing about it, man, I was instant messaging on one of my contacts. You notice all of a sudden, all these big prophets, as soon as it didn't happen, they don't say a word. When it comes to all the stuff about extraterrestrials or what was really happening when Jesus was here and what didn't happen, and what Mary, what was it, Mary Magdalene, yeah. It's not worth wasting our lives thinking about it too much. And I don't think so. The better just to get on with our lives. And I do believe that that you know, if I die and I don't wind up in heaven like I would think, it's, well, what can I say? You know, or if I wind up in hell, I don't think I would really wind up in hell, but at the same time, I don't want to be like a lot of people would, like having this great vision of themselves in heaven, floating around, woo-hoo, you know, and then they get there, and all of a sudden they're so shocked that their grand fantasy didn't turn out the way it really was, or what they expected. You know, life goes on. So, as usual, when I do a video, there was things I was thinking about, but it just kind of, it goes over the top of my head. Anyway, happy Easter 2014, and let's do what we can to make the world a safer place and a place of peace, because right now, the U.S. Israel and NATO are revving up. They're a little war machine, as usual. Want to go after Russia. As they want to go after Iran. They've been working on going after Syria. But, hey, it's time to shut down the war machine. And we've just had a pretty busy week down there in Nevada with a cowboy. Bundy. Bunkerville. Hey, the Cowboys got some support to kind of put those big shots in D.C. out of the way. You know, it's kind of like these ranchers and farmers. They're the guys, they do all the work on the land. And always federal government throwing their weight around, trying to put these guys out of business. Hey, trying to restore the republic and forget about the corporations. Well, I think I blew this one. I'm just having fun. And I take care and have y'all.